Joined now by Francis Suarez, the mayor of the city of Miami, and a confirmed COVID-19 survivor. Mayor Suarez, thanks for joining the program. I guess I would start with how you're feeling, what your experience was like with COVID-19, and you've been public discussing this experience, and what can you share with us on that front? I think a lot of people are anxious about what this disease does and doesn't do.
Yeah, I feel great. I'm very fortunate. I was blessed to be one of those people that are in that category that experiences mild symptoms. I never got a fever. I never got a sore throat. I basically had cold-like symptoms throughout. The most medicine that I took was Tylenol. And like you said, I made a decision early on, which was somewhat risky, to video blog the experience. But since it turned out well for me, it gave people a lot of hope. And it, I think, reassured people that if they became COVID-19 positive, that it wasn't a death sentence. It wasn't something, that was hopeless. And so for me, this has been a tremendous process. I mean, I've also been running sort of the city virtually. And I think we have now entered this new world where everything is being done so much more virtually than it was before. And that's something that I'm not so sure we're ever going to fully go back to the way things were now that we have uncovered this capacity that we have to do things so efficiently from the comfort of our own homes.
Mayor, good to talk to you again, and glad to hear that you have recovered. I want to talk about the response, or how Miami has responded to the outbreak. You sent a letter over the White House last week calling on all flights into Miami from some of these hotspots be halted. I'm looking at the numbers today. You've already got 4,000 or more than 4,000 cases there. So, what is the rationale behind calling for all flights to be halted when you've already got the virus in your community?
Yeah, we definitely have the most cases in Florida. What I've looked at is our risk profile. And so what we've done is we're one of the first cities to institute a stay-at-home order. We're the first city to institute a curfew. We were the first city probably in America to cancel large events. So as I look at, what else can I do? People are often asking me, what more can you do as mayor? You look at Miami International Airport. We have, normally speaking, obviously this is not normal times, but we normally have 50 million people coming through MIA every given year. And so the fear was that, that's 2.5 times the population of the entire state of Florida coming through one airport. I got it from a delegation of officials that came from Brazil. And so we have people coming from all over the world, all over the country, who may be fleeing hotspots and unfortunately may exacerbate the situation in our city as we're trying to get control of it.
Mayor, hey, Rick Newman here on the other side of the internet. Are the cities in Florida on the same page as the state at this point? Because you were not for a while. And when you look at these projection curves, it looks like Florida is going to peak later than places like New York. That's just the timing of it. How long are you anticipating until you can begin starting to get back to normal there?
The latest projection curves that I've seen have it peaking in late April, which was sort of an improvement over the last few days. Obviously, this is something that we're monitoring on a day-to-day basis. We see fluctuations. I can tell you that today, one of our testing sites got about 33% more tests than it's done in the past. And so, every time we feel like we can sort of let our sort of breathe easier, and we think that maybe we're over the worst of this, unfortunately, what we've seen happen with this virus is we sort of get scared back into apprehension and vigilance. And so, I think for me, I like to see more data, a little bit more data from a few more days, and obviously consult with our medical experts before we make some sort of a prediction. But, we're taking this day by day. Our emergency powers only go into effect for 7-day periods. And then, obviously everybody wants to return to normal because this has had a crippling impact on our economy. But we have to be vigilant. We have to be disciplined. The more disciplined that we are as a community and as an urban community, the faster I think we'll be able to return to normal.
Mayor, you pointed out that you are one of the first cities within Florida to put in place these stay-at-home orders. Your governor, DeSantis, certainly has gotten a lot of criticism for acting more slowly. He was, more than a week or out from the initial stay-at-home order that you initiated. How has a slow response from the state level complicated the city's response?
Well, like I said, we have our threats come from a variety of different places, right? They're not just threats that come from home. And so one of the big issues that we're dealing with is people who are coming into our community. We are a community that, normally speaking, has a tremendous amount of tourists. When I canceled Ultra and I canceled Cayocho, which were the two main festivals, one of which has 150,000 people coming from 105 countries, that's Ultra, and the other one was 250,000 people. I was actually criticized by some of the local leaders as being premature. And then we saw those dramatic images throughout the country of spring breakers partying in our beaches, which unfortunately I don't have any control over. And so it creates a lot of confusion because people see images and they assume it's, for example, the mayor of Miami's fault. Some people don't even know exactly where Miami begins and ends. Some people think that Palm Beach and Broward are part of Miami, when in fact Miami it's a large city, but it's the largest city in a county of 3 million people. So it can be very confusing and very difficult to lead in an environment like that.
Mayor, Jen Rogers here. So we've been all watching everything out of New York City and the pleas for ventilators and PPE, masks. Do you have everything that you need in Miami right now? Right now we do. And I say right now very, very cautiously, because as we saw with New York, it all depends on, how systematic the virus continues to propagate. We had like I said, like I was telling Rick, we had a couple of days where we dipped and we almost started to feel like, well, maybe this is the worst part. And now we just had 1,200 cases yesterday. So every time we think we're kind of reaching the pinnacle, we start going up. And like I said, in one of our testing sites locally, we went up by 33%. It's the most production or the most tests that we've done on a given day in one of our testing sites since we started. That indicates to me that, we're doing symptomatic testing right now. So that indicates to me that we're still on the uptick. So we're going to continue to do everything that we can, to try to control this. But our residents are by and large respecting our stay-at-home order. They're by and large respecting the social distancing norms, of course, not uniformly, and that's another challenge that we're dealing with.
And Mayor, finally, as a coronavirus survivor, you donated your plasma last week to, as I understand it, a patient who is struggling with the virus right now. Can you talk a bit about this experimental treatment and how effective this is likely to be? As I understand it, you were one of the first to do that.
I was the first in Florida. I think only the fourth or fifth in the entire country. Part of the reason why is because I had to follow a very strict regimen testing protocol. And so I think one of the things that we've got to look at as a community and as a country is testing people as they come out of this, right? So we're obviously struggling to test people on the front end, right? People who are symptomatic or maybe who are even asymptomatic and should get tested just to get a sense for how prevalent the virus is in our community. But we also have to test people after they test positive so that A, they can feel comfortable and they can prove to their employers they can go back to work safely, and B, so that they can help others who have a more dramatic form of the virus in them. I was lucky. I had a very mild form, but now hopefully with the antibodies that I built up in my blood, we can use that either to A, create a vaccine, or B, help people who have a severe case. In my case, I was able to donate to someone who's in critical condition, and my hope and prayer is that they were able to rebound. They showed some signs of rebounding, and they may have had some other medical complications, but it's something that we're hoping that will be a door that opens and a call to action for those who have defeated COVID-19 in their own bodies.
All right, Miami Mayor Francis Suarez, really appreciate you taking the time. Glad to hear you're feeling better, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.